What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now I'm going to switch gears just a bit, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's called Ego Honor Roll. Just like in school, the students that excel, that do good, that are passing the class, not fucking up, they get on the honor roll. You know what I mean? Good grades. And it's basically something I want to do. Now, I spend time talking about the good, bad, and the ugly on my channel. And sometimes, especially this year, we focus on the negative stuff because typically a negative outweighs a positive. It's just the way it goes. If you are having an otherwise good day and then you're on your lunch break at work and you get a speeding ticket, it's probably going to fuck your whole day up, or at least for that span of time. So I want to switch gears a bit and talk about something positive. That's why I have the Ego Honor Roll. Like I said, I do the rant videos. Those aren't going to stop. If I'm pissed off, then I'm going to give that to you and speak my mind. But I also want to reward the good things that I am seeing in boxing. And I want to recognize certain individuals. And I know you guys like lists. Not everyone's going to agree with my list, but this is my channel, my video. So this is my list. And I'm going to explain why I put each person on the list. Now, this is not an ongoing list. This list will change. I'll update it and have the Ego Honor Roll. But for the current point in time, which is today, this is my list and why the people. So like if these people start cherry picking and ducking and all kinds of stuff, okay, cool. But at this particular moment, I'm happy for these fighters, and I'm going to explain why. So let me go through my list. Nonito Donaire. Got to put him on the list. This is in no particular order, by the way. But I got to put Donaire on the list. I'm a Bay Area dude, and I think he did the Bay proud. Not by losing, but what he did, like what he did and what it symbolizes. Nonito Donaire has taken some pretty tough fights. He was brought in, and not many people thought he would beat Darchinian at the time. The first fight, a lot of people thought he was going to beat Montiel. Then he fought some middle of the road guys, the Wilfredo Vasquez Juniors, and Narvaez, people like that. Jorge Arce, who was probably past it. Fought Rigondeaux and just got classed. He didn't look good in that fight. Then he came back, fought Vic Darchinian, had a tough fight with him, was probably down on the scorecards, and he had a tough fight. He was able to get the job done and stop him. And he fought Siempe Way, who was a champion, who just beat Chris John. I don't like how that fight turned out. But to go from that, so that's the chronological order. Some rough appearances, you know what I mean? I would say 3 back-to-back rough appearances. Rigondeaux outclassed you. You beat Vic Darchinian previously, like 6 years earlier, and you struggled with him in the second before getting it done. So that wasn't like a stellar performance, even though you got the stoppage. And then the Siempe Way, how it ended. You fought a champion with the cut, and then it ended up getting stopped, and you won in a crude fashion, if you will. To go from that to facing someone undefeated, and just from the eye test, someone that annihilated Vic Darchinian, and that was Nicholas Walters. I give him a lot of credit, man. He went in there, he went out on his shield, and he did what he had to do, and he at least took the fight. And that's better than I could say for a lot of current fighters. You know what I mean? Not everyone's willing to do that, especially when they have roadblocks. And I'm not trying to single anyone out because it's not that type of video. But if you look at it, other fighters have trouble, quote unquote, trouble in their career. They're not taking immediate tests like that. You know what I'm saying? Like Amir Khan, he ran into Danny Garcia, got stopped. Then he had to build himself back up. He fought Carlos Molina, pulled him up in weight, not much punching power at 35, pulled him up to 140, did away with him. Had a little bit of tough time with Julio Diaz, who started off slow, and that was at a catch weight. Then he fought Luis Collazo. Now he's fighting Devin Alexander. So not terrible fights, but more of a softer touch than with Nonito Donaire. So I give guys credit, win, lose, or draw, for actually at least being man enough and having the guts enough and balls enough to take on that type of challenge. And after the fight, Donaire, he didn't make any excuses. He said he knocked the shit out of me. He beat the shit out of me. And he gave full and complete respect to Nicholas Walters. So I love the sportsmanship, and I got to put Nonito on my list for at least challenging himself. And I think he truthfully did train for the fight, and he knew what he was going up against, and the better man just won. So in that same regard, I got to put Nicholas Walters on the list. And that's for being what is perceived as an underdog. I think he might have been the favorite, but a lot of people didn't know Nicholas Walters. They might know him now because he had a great performance. He battled some adversity. I love seeing that. He got rocked in the end of the second round, and he just fought like a true champion. And he also, like I said earlier with Donaire, he gave props to Nonito Donaire. He didn't bash him like, oh, I beat his ass, easy work, fuck him, I beat the fuck out of a Mexican, and you know what I'm saying, beat the fuck out of a Filipino, I'm the camp, you know what I'm saying? He didn't do all that. He didn't do all the rah-rah shit. He was a professional through in and throughout, and I respect that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm human, so of course people like gossip and drama and like, you know what I mean, the outrageous post-fight interviews, but given that situation, Nonito didn't disrespect him or anything like that. I like that. You get someone like Broner, he's not going to necessarily act like that. After Paulie Malignaggi, if you remember that fight, Broner struggled with Malignaggi, and Malignaggi looked good early, and it kind of faded towards the middle, towards the stretch. But after, Broner was like super arrogant over a performance where he shouldn't be that arrogant. He's like, hey, Jim, let me tell you, AB, okay, I took his belt and I took his girl. Easy work. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was making it like he had a significant performance. Nicholas Walters destroyed and dominated the champion or former champion. Oh, actually, he was a champion, Donaire, and he still handled it in a different fashion. Broner struggled with Malignaggi, yet he was acting like he just like blew him out of the water, like he did Antonio DeMarco. So props to Nicholas Walters. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. Next on my list, Gabe Rosado. Some of you guys are scratching your head. What the fuck, Ego? Gabe Rosado, he's a bomb. Fuck all that. If you look at Gabe Rosado, there's a documentary. I'll try to remember the name of the link. It's like a short documentary. It's on YouTube. I watched it maybe a year and a half ago. It's a good flick. It was him leading up to the Triple G fight. Now, the thing I like about Gabe Rosado is he's taking on all comers. You can call him a bum. You can say he's a journeyman. Say whatever you want about him, but you can't challenge his heart. And I would take that any day. You know what I'm saying? And let's not forget, some of his losses are controversial. Jay Leon Love, I thought he beat Jay Leon Love. The Peter Quillen, he was starting to get his second win. And I'm not a big what-if person in boxing. Peter Quillen won fair and square. A punch opened the cut. Peter Quillen won. That's it. But things were just starting to get interesting, and an unfortunate cut opened up. So we don't know how it would have played out. So props to Peter Quillen. He did what he had to do in the nick of time. But things were starting to get interesting in that particular fight. So I respect it, man. He's a tough Philly fighter, and he even signed up to fight James Kirkland. Kirkland is not the type of fighter, if he's on his A game, that most people want to deal with, because he stays on top of you. He's aggressive. He has power. He's just a strong dude. And he just comes at you like a tank. And Gabe Rosado was like, fuck it, sign me up. On top of that, he was going to fight him, James Kirkland, initially on the Kovalev card, which is already based on the main event, getting a lot of press. So he's willing to go out on his shield and really take on all comers. You fought an undefeated Jay Leon Love, undefeated Peter Quillen. You were willing to fight Triple G. And I don't know if some of you guys remember this far back, but Gabe Rosado and Triple G, when that fight was initially announced, it was at a catchweight because Gabe Rosado was at 54, Triple G was at 160. Gabe Rosado said, fuck that catchweight shit. I don't do catchweights. And he said, I want to fight Triple G at the full 160-pound limit, right? He says, I don't want to do no catchweight. And then I think against the advice of his actual promoter, they were like, nah, I don't know if that's a good idea. You should fight him at a catchweight. And he was like, nah, I don't want to do a catchweight. I want full credit for this particular win because I know I could beat this guy. And that wasn't the case, obviously. Triple G had the flu, but he still beat the shit out of Gabe Rosado. But, you know what I'm saying? Gabe Rosado kind of held his own. I think Curtis Stevens probably did the best in recent memory against Triple G. But there were some moments of a little bit of vulnerability, not too much, but Rosado, he didn't go out like a punk. You know what I mean? He was bleeding profusely early on, and he was still trying. I really felt he was still trying. And I got to give him props for that. And who knows, maybe if he fought Triple G at a catchweight, he would have had an even better showing. Because Triple G said he had the flu plus the catchweight. Who knows what Triple G's power and if he has to drain himself. to make anything under 160. We don't know. So I give Rosado props, full props for that. Now on top of that, he's fighting David Lemieux, a guy I think once beaten. That was to Marco Antonio Rubio. And it's a guy who looked good in his last fight against Fernando Guerrero. He ran through him, blitzed through him, and that's a dangerous fight for him. On top of that, Gabe Rosado, he dabbled in another sport, the BKB, and knocked out Brian Vera, who gave Chavez Jr. 2 good fights. I mean, I appreciate that, and I like that warrior spirit in Gabe Rosado. That's why he's on the list. Next on my list, B-Hop, another guy from Philly, another Philly fighter. Got to put Bernard Hopkins on here. I mean, he's fighting an opponent who's 18 years younger than him, with power, good boxing ability, undefeated, and who looks savage. I got to give B-Hop props for that. I mean, to be 50, I know 50-year-olds who, you know what I mean, have to use like walkers and shit like that. Not that 50 is just the oldest, but in boxing, it's just like boxers, in my opinion, boxers age in dog years. Like, it's not the regular human years, because the things you do in boxing are typically more strenuous. You know what I mean? Several training camps and all these rounds and sparring sessions and everything you do, the running, the lifting, the cardio, just all kinds of stuff. It takes its toll. Taking punches to the head. And Bernard Hopkins is still here. He's still at it. He's still wise. Props to him. You know what I mean? He has a ton of middleweight defenses when he was at middleweight. It's just he's a legendary fighter. There's no problem making a movie about B-Hop's life. It would be very easy. Like, I'm into directing and the video editing and stuff. It would be very easy to make a biopic about his life, because there's just so much in it, from the prison to the ups and downs and championship fights. It would be very easy. I got to put Sergey Kovalev on my list as well, and that's just for being a guy who almost gave up. He said on the 24/7 he almost gave up with boxing. Like, man, maybe I need to go back to Russia and think of some other ways to make money, because this ain't really cutting it. I'm not getting the recognition. I'm not getting big fights. But he stuck with it. He's tough, and now he's in a position where he has to fight a legend. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see what the outcome of that fight is. But I got to put Sergey Kovalev on, just for being the little-known guy with a lot in his engine, a lot of heart, and working to get to this level. You know what I'm saying? This shit is not easy to build your name. You got to keep in mind, some guys, I hate to use Broner, but he's just so easy as a target. But guys like Adrian Broner, they might be able to move up the ranks fast and get a lot of publicity quick, because they got a loud mouth. You know what I mean? They talk a lot. They you know what I mean, rapping on the way out, all that stuff. Some people, like, you could be a casual fan and you might buy into some of the politics and antics of a guy like Adrian Broner, because he's rapping on his ring entrance. He knocked someone out, and then he was dancing and saying crazy shit. Guys like Sergey Kovalev, they do most of their talking in the ring. They don't really talk much. You know what I'm saying? English is not his first language. So to work your career up without having to do a bunch of over-the-top shit, and to get to this point just from consistency, I got to respect that. So I put Kovalev on the list also. And then last on my list, rounding out the list, I put Oscar De La Hoya. And that's for having a vision to end this Cold War. And it appears, I can't say, you know what I mean, I'm not giving him more credit than he deserves, but it appears he's at least trying. He's at least trying to follow through with the vision to the eye test. And moves like bringing Canelo, one of his biggest stars. I don't know how many stars he actually has, because some are Al Heyman. I don't know who's with Golden Boy. You know what I mean? I'm not in their record books like that. But I know Canelo is his, and that's like his pride and joy, and his big fighter with one loss, and the future Golden Boy. So he's their marquee name, and he brought him back to HBO. That's a big move, because that's kind of bearing the hatchet. He's been seen with Bob Arum and having interviews and stuff like that. So hopefully he can finalize and get other great top-ranked / Golden Boy matches made with minimal politics, and the fans get to see this. And I really like that. I like the card that he put together as well in December 13th. Amir Khan, Devin Alexander, great fight. Keith Thurman is going to be fighting. And then also He's having Demetrius Andrade and Jermell Charlo. Great fights. These are all good, solid fights. Two of them, to me, are very 50-50, and that's the Charlo Demetrius Andrade fight, and also the Amir Khan Devin Alexander. These are pick'em fights. These are great fights. And in addition to that, he's doing double duty, and he's going to be promoting Mauricio Herrera, who's on a rival card with Top Rank the same night. So he's going to do his due diligence and make an appearance for that. So support the Top Rank event before going to his own. I got to give him credit for that, because this is, if you really think about it, this is two companies that were not too far removed from going head to head with each other to piss on each other. You know what I mean? Like a dick measuring contest, no homo. Like a pissing contest. That's what they were trying to do. It's like, oh, he wants his date, I'm not backing out of my date. Fuck them. And they had two rival cards. I remember Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez happened the same night as Marcos Maidana, Jesus Soto Caras, and then Golden Boy also had as the main event Canelo versus Josecito Lopez. And they went head to head, because I remember me and my brother were watching, and we were DVRing one. We got the pay-per-view, so we watched that first, and then we had to bounce back to the HBO card, or the Showtime card. And then another time recently, he had Mo Rigondeaux versus Joseph Ekbeko, and then also James Kirkland, Glenn Tappy was on that card. And that was, I believe, the same night Paulie Malignaggi and Zab Judah fought on a rival Showtime card. So these guys were going heads up, trying to outdo and, like, you know what I mean, see who had the better numbers and shit like that. So for them to be working together, it's a good sign. It's a step in the right direction. So that's my honor roll, the first ever Ego honor roll. I want to commend these people and everyone that made the list. I really mean it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.